Crash Bandicoot, Activision, Microsoft, Crash 5 getting cancelled, Activision. Look, I love Crash Bandicoot. I grew up playing many of his games, but it's hard being a Crash fan these days, especially whenever a new game comes out. The executives at Activision have these high expectations for the Bandicoot, and when those expectations aren't met, it's back in the vault you go. And even when we got news that a Crash 5 game got cancelled, the game was only in concept after Crash 4 released. But since Crash 4 sales didn't meet expectations, the game was cancelled. Now here's the thing, Crash 4 still sold really well. The thing is, Activision was expecting COD numbers. Their expectations were too high. And even though the 5th game was cancelled, we still got a new Crash game. Has everyone already forgot Crash Team Rumble? I'll admit I did. And it's safe to say, I don't think this game sold well. And I can already hear what the execs were thinking when this game flopped. Oh, I guess people don't like Crash anymore. Not true. Crash fans love Crash Bandicoot. They want new Crash Bandicoot games. Just not this. And we can also assume that expectations for this game was also high. Look, I do see a future for Crash, but that future is looking a little hollow. I'm hopeful that Microsoft and Activision are working on a new Crash game behind the scenes, although it is very likely that there's no Crash games being worked on. And Spyro. I really want to see a 4th Spyro game, but I also don't see that happening anytime soon. I would also like to see a new Banjo game. I'm hopeful that Astrobot winning Game of the Year is reigniting something for these three. But again, there's a good chance nothing is being worked on. God, I hope I'm wrong. And you know, despite this, they could still re-release some old games. Even if we never get a new Crash and Spyro game, they could still re-release some old stuff. Sony has their PS1 and PS2 emulator for the PS5 now. They could re-release games like Crash Bash, Crash Nitro Kart, Crash Twinsanity, and Crash Tag Team Racing. I think Crash Twinsanity and Tag Team Racing are the two games that I would like to see re-released. A remaster would be nice. Nah, wait. I don't see a remaster for these two happening. But I suppose that is on the table for them. We obviously don't see Nitro Kart getting any sort of remaster since all the tracks were remade for Crash Nitro Fueled. The original game still could get a re-release, you know, for nostalgia's sake, because the original game is different from the tracks that we got in Nitro Fueled. Crash Nitro Kart had this anti-grab mechanic that didn't get remade for Crash Nitro Fueled. Either way, very unlikely. And Crash Bash, I do see being a potential re-release as a PlayStation Classic title. Like I said, all 4 of these games could possibly be a PlayStation Classic re-release. They could do it now. I guess they just need the thumbs up from Activision. Also for these games to have trophy support. That'd be nice. It would also be cool if the Crash Game Boy games get re-released. You know how Capcom released all the classic Mega Man games into their own collection? I want to see something like that for the Crash Game Boy games. Get Huge Adventure, Entranced, the Game Boy version of Nitro Kart, that one Crash and Spyro crossover game that also released for the Game Boy. And you know what? Throw in the Spyro Game Boy games too. Even though they may not be as favored, include them. Why not, if you're going to go through the trouble? Make it the Crash and Spyro Game Boy collection. Or no, hold on, I had to consider this being on all platforms. The Crash and Spyro 32-bit collection, there we go. Very likely never going to happen, but it would be cool if it did. Only chance the Crash Game Boy games could see a re-release is if Nintendo included them in their Nintendo Switch Online membership. Only likely way I see these games getting re-released for modern platforms. Really only the Switch. I would prefer a collection of these games, but I can only see this being a potential possibility. Very more likely to get added to Nintendo Switch Online if the demand is there. But yeah, Crash Bandicoot. Poor guy. Yeah, this video is just pure copium. I love to see new games, but to set my expectations, I gotta assume Crash may never get a new game. Ever. Please let me be wrong. Re-releases of games I mentioned are more likely to happen, and if they do happen, I hope it reignites some spark for new games to be made. But until then, for the kids that played the Insane trilogy, Nitro Fueled, and It's About Time, until the kids that grew up with these games get nostalgic, I don't see any new game happening as of now. But other than that, there is nothing we can do at the moment but play the waiting game.